He is a wolf that moves through shadow, controlled, not feral, steady, not submissive. He maps escape routes in murmurs, tests honesty by weight, and turns his errors into protection. He chooses quiet words because his vows already hold enough thunder. He's the one who made the void hesitate. He cooked fear down until only intention remained. He reshaped fury into direction and transformed suffering into a whetstone, then refined himself against it. I didn't wake up one morning choosing solitude. It unfolded gradually, silently, like water retreating from shore when no one is paying attention. One day I looked around and noticed the space was empty, not because people had left, but because they had never truly been present. There was a time I believed in people, a time I trusted hands that later struck. I mistook smiles for allegiance, assurances for honesty. I thought that if I remained kind, if I stayed gentle and patient, the world would soften in return. It didn't. It sharpened. Each time I fell, they watched, some in silence, some with amusement, some by looking away. Slowly, something inside me accepted a truth I resisted for too long. When it truly matters, it's me versus everyone. I didn't select this road. It sealed itself behind me. I understood loneliness the moment I stopped asking for help. Not because I didn't need it, but because I already knew the reply. No one was coming. They say isolation breaks a person. They're right. What they never mention is what grows in the fractures. There were nights I leaned against cold walls, listening to my thoughts turn hostile. Nights when my chest felt hollow, as if something vital had been carved out and left bleeding in the dark. That's when I learned sadness isn't loud, it's dense. It presses down until breathing feels earned. I asked myself questions no one else dared to face. What if I'm alone because I see too clearly? What if I don't belong because I refuse to perform? What if awareness demands distance? They don't despise weakness. They despise mirrors. Each time I rose again, they expected gratitude. Each time I endured, they expected quiet obedience. They wanted me strong enough to serve, but never strong enough to escape. So I stopped justifying myself, stopped compressing my thoughts to fit their comfort, stopped apologizing for my weight, stopped pretending the world is gentle to those who suffer in silence. There's a sorrow that never leaves. It doesn't weep. It doesn't shout. It sits beside me like an old companion who knows too much. It remembers every closed door, every turned back, every moment I needed someone and became someone instead.
They call it bitterness when a man remembers. They call it arrogance when he stops asking permission to exist. They weren't there when I learned how to survive myself. I became cautious with hope, selective with trust, dangerous to the versions of me that wanted to quit. Not cruel, not violent, just immovable. There's a quiet intensity in knowing you carried everything alone. In knowing every scar was earned without witnesses. In knowing that if you fall now, there is no safety net, only ground. And still, I stand. They don't understand what repetition of disappointment does. When betrayal becomes familiar, when silence replaces reassurance. They believe strength must be loud, that power announces itself. They don't see the discipline it takes to wake each day and continue, when the world has already judged you. I don't need approval. I don't need comprehension. I need authenticity, even if it costs me company. Pretending drained more from me than solitude ever did.
Sometimes I mourn the person I could have been if kindness had been returned, if loyalty had been shared, if love hadn't come with conditions. That grief lingers, but it taught me something sacred. I can lose everything and still remain. They thought pressure would crush me. They thought silence would erase me. They thought time would shrink me. Instead, it shaped me with precision. I move with intention now. I speak less. I observe more. I recognize who disappears under strain and who appears only for advantage. I know the tone of false concern. And I know this, when it truly comes down to it, it will be me against everyone. And that's fine. I've already fought that battle internally, survived nights meant to dismantle me, stood in crowded rooms and felt completely alone. This isn't anger, it's resolve. This is sorrow that learned to stand upright, pain that refused to decay into fragility, a heart wounded but not surrendered.
I don't wait for mercy. I don't request fairness. I don't seek permission. If they block my way, I move through. If they doubt me, I remember. If they leave, I continue. Because I learned the truth they never wanted me to know. When it's me against everyone, I am enough. Strength doesn't feel heroic. It feels lonely, like carrying answers no one asked for, like recognizing patterns others call chaos, like knowing how things end and walking forward anyway. I hoped once to be proven wrong. I waited longer than I should have to see if anyone would stay. They didn't. That's when sadness changed form. It stopped negotiating, stopped hoping. It became acceptance. Most people don't want truth. They want comfort. They don't want depth. They want distraction. They don't want strength. They want obedience. I was never made for that. I tried fitting in, dulling my edges, laughing when nothing felt funny, agreeing when every instinct resisted. It felt like slow suffocation. So I chose the quieter pain, the honest one, standing alone instead of kneeling together in denial. There's clarity in realizing you are your own final defense. No backup, no applause, just you and the road ahead. They assume that makes a person cold, detached, heartless. They're wrong. It made me careful with my heart, not absent of one. I still feel deeply. I just don't let emotion steer anymore. I let it inform. I carry sadness, anger, disappointment, like weight in my pockets, grounding, reminding me who I am and where I've been. Each time I compromised myself to belong, something inside me faded. Each time I stood alone, something inside me endured. They don't see the rebuilding, the restraint, the discipline of staying principled when no one is watching. They only see the boundaries now. They call it arrogance because nothing unsettles people more than someone who no longer needs validation. I stopped explaining my pain, stopped waiting for understanding. I learned closure isn't given, it's taken. Sometimes closure looks like leaving without being heard. There's grief in that, and freedom.
I don't chase connections anymore. I observe them. I let bonds reveal themselves. When they fail, I adapt. Kindness without limits is self-destruction. Loyalty without discernment is liability. Love without self-respect becomes surrender. I learned that alone.
Now, when I look forward, I don't imagine applause. I imagine silence. And strangely, it doesn't scare me. It feels familiar. Like stillness before resolve. Like calm before a storm that knows exactly where it's headed. If they misunderstand me, so be it. If they doubt me, fine. If they leave, let them. I walked through emptiness and didn't vanish. I became someone who can stand in loss and remain whole. Someone who feels deeply without being ruled by feeling. Someone who can be alone without becoming empty.
That isn't weakness. That's what's earned when it's me against everyone. I don't rush. I don't panic. I don't lash out. I breathe. I evaluate. I endure. Because the one who survives isolation learns how to survive anything. And if the world insists I stand alone, then I will stand quiet, steady, unbreakable, until even the silence understands I'm not leaving.